Imagine a world where the geopolitical landscape changes dramatically. What would happen if the United States ceased to be the world power we all know it to be? In this intriguing journey, we will explore the possible scenarios, from the economic impact to the political and cultural implications. No one can deny America's massive influence on the world stage. But what would happen if that influence disappeared overnight? Get ready to question your assumptions and dive into an alternative future that could change everything. What does it mean to be a world power? Being a world power means that a country has significant influence globally in a variety of areas, including politics, economics, technology, culture, and security. The influence of the United States has now extended to cultural aspects and has influenced the way citizens of various nations dress and feed themselves. This position brings with it a particular set of responsibilities and challenges, such as economic responsibility, a leading role in global security, political leadership, and the promotion of human rights and universal values. However, some world events seem to be changing the panorama. The recent economic crisis caused by the mortgage problems in the United States, the emergence of new economic powers, especially India and China in Asia and Brazil in America, and the weakening of the dollar in relation to the euro seem to have an important influence on the hegemonic position of the United States at world level. This itself leads us to think, what would happen if that influence disappeared overnight? Since when and how has the United States been a world power? Before answering the big question, it is important to take a brief historical tour to understand how the United States arrived in the 21st century. During the 19th century, the United States experienced rapid economic growth and industrialization. Railroad construction and the exploitation of natural resources strengthened the country's economic base. In the early 20th century, the United States became a key player in world diplomacy, participating in World War I. After World War I, although the United States initially withdrew from international affairs after World War I, its economic power and industrial capacity continued to grow. After World War II, this period marked the consolidation of the United States as a superpower. The Marshall Plan, 1948, helped rebuild Europe, and the Cold War led the United States to take a leading role in containing communism. Cold War ideological and military competition with the Soviet Union during the Cold War placed the United States at the center of the world stage. Nuclear capability and economic expansion contributed to its superpower status. After the Cold War, the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 and the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991 left the United States as the sole dominant superpower. What would happen if the United States ceased to be a world power? It is important to note that this is a speculation and not a concrete prediction, as geopolitics is complex. The first answer stands out in that only Russia would be the remaining nuclear superpower in the world. It is unlikely that other nations would seek to negotiate with Moscow, given the large gap between Russia and the other players. The absence of U.S. extended deterrence could intensify nuclear proliferation, leading former allies and partners, especially in East Asia, Japan, South Korea and Taiwan, and the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Turkey and Egypt, to consider acquiring nuclear weapons. As a result, a scenario could emerge with 5 or 6 new nuclear powers in a short time. On the other hand, the economic impact would be devastating. International financial institutions, such as the IMF, would undergo painful reforms. The loss of dominance of the US dollar as the main reserve currency would lead to the reconfiguration of global markets, generating worldwide uncertainty. In addition, the absence of the U.S. in energy markets could prompt a temporary revival of OPEC and strengthen Russia's positions. Apple's exit from the portable electronics markets would create intense competition among electronics giants in China, Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. The euro would inevitably become the main reserve currency once the dollar exits the global financial system. The Chinese yuan is not fully convertible, which means it would be a long time before China could compete with the European Union in the financial arena. Other global currencies, such as the British pound, the Japanese yen, and the Swiss franc, could gain in importance. European and Asian financial centers, London, Frankfurt, Shanghai, Singapore, etc., would receive additional powerful incentives for development. The absence of the United States as a major player could trigger a reorganization of geopolitical alliances. Countries that depend on U.S. military and economic protection, such as Ukraine or Israel, would have to seek new strategic partnerships. Counterterrorism, nuclear proliferation, and other transnational problems would require closer international cooperation to be addressed effectively. Without U.S. backing, the ability to meet these challenges could weaken. Keep your attention. There is something crucial you will discover at the end of this video. Who will be the winners and losers in a world without U.S. hegemony? Stay tuned. The key piece of this intriguing puzzle is about to be revealed. Join us until the end to unravel the mystery and understand the profound impact this change would have on the global landscape. Could NATO survive in a world without the United States? In theory, yes, but only if the major European powers, the United Kingdom, Germany, and France, put maximum political, economic, and military effort into it. The remaining countries of the bloc will have to increase their defense contributions by more than the 2% Washington insists on today to around 4 or 5%. However, even this would not compensate for the losses that NATO would suffer as a result of U.S. withdrawal. Without U.S. leadership, NATO would likely become a regional military and political instrument of the European Union, while London's role in the organization would be unclear given that it is no longer part of the EU, and NATO would have a much more modest role in the world. Without the United States, NATO is unlikely to continue to pursue its current global ambitions, and the remaining members may be quite reluctant to expand the organization's geographic area of responsibility infinitely. Who would benefit from the fall of U.S. hegemony? In a world without the United States, China would almost automatically become the undisputed leader in global technology. Although Europe, Japan, India, and the Southeast Asian nations would probably have greater incentive to join forces to challenge China's hegemony in this area. With this in mind, it is difficult to say whether it would be possible to create a global technology ecosystem that would be independent of Beijing without the United States. This would largely depend on how rigid or flexible Beijing's hegemony would actually prove to be, as well as the extent to which China would manage to avoid monopolizing new technologies that are critical to the global community at large. Hollywood would no longer be the center of the world film industry, and the cities that used to occupy that position, mainly Paris and Rome, would have the opportunity to revive their former cinematic glory. However, European filmmakers would face stiff competition in the global entertainment market from filmmakers of Indian and, in particular, Chinese origin. The disappearance of New York from world fashion would give a second wind to Paris and Milan, while the United Kingdom was likely to become the center of musical life for a long time to come. Naturally, the world would not collapse. It would survive the exit of the United States. It would be difficult and extremely uncomfortable at first. Somehow we would still get through it. If you found the information we shared with you useful and liked it, we encourage you to subscribe and give it a big like. That way we can keep bringing you more of those questions that keep our minds active during the evenings.